Well, hello, I'm Shonnie Alridge, your favorite real estate broker and appraiser in Atlanta, Georgia. And today we're going to talk about my road to becoming an appraiser. And I'm going to do a short video about just how the idea came about and where I'm at right now. All right, let's go. All right, so me becoming an appraiser, it started out as just an idea. And, it came about in 2020. COVID had hit us hard and everyone was trying to figure out, okay, what in the world is going on here? And so I was like, I got to figure something out because, things were just really different. I got an email from a corporate client and they needed to have some appraisal inspectors. And so I was like, okay, let me check this out. So I became an appraisal inspector. So an appraisal inspector, my role was to measure homes. So I had to learn how to measure and inspect them, take photos, and gather information. So I did that for some months, like all of 2020. And during that time frame, I started to reach out and have more conversations with appraisers. If I was doing a real estate transaction and if I was communicating with the appraiser, I would say, hey, and just try to have a conversation and just learn a little bit just from that. And then I decided to speak to a friend of mine who's an appraiser and just, share with him like what I'm doing and ask him questions and any suggestions on tools that I can use to measure houses and tools that I can use to just make myself more efficient with my corporate client. He was like, you should get your appraiser license. And I'm like, really? I was thinking about that. And so it just came from that. It came from an idea. It came from an opportunity that I didn't pass up. Had I ignored the email that came in because I was stuck into this COVID-19 and like, what are we going to do? Then I wouldn't be where I'm at now. It's just that I went for something. And although I didn't think that I knew what I was doing at first and that I knew it was going to be something different and challenging, I was there for the challenge. Like, what the heck? Why not? So just because something is you're not super familiar with it doesn't mean that you can't learn a skill set and be really good at it. So women, I'm really talking to you. Men, I love you. But women, I'm talking to you. Like, you don't have to stay doing something. You definitely can reinvent yourself or add on to your skill sets, right? So anyhow, I got, doing the appraisal inspections with the corporate client. I was speaking to other appraisers because I felt confident now that I could have a conversation with appraisers about measurements and things like that, just using those keywords that appraisers would use. And so when I was talking to one of my close friends, who's now my mentor, I was talking to him about like what I was doing and stuff like that. And he was like, hey, you need to go ahead and just be an appraiser. That was like really all I needed for him to just say, because he's an appraiser and been doing it for years. So he knows like what he's doing. And for him to say that, I was like, yeah. And he goes on to say like, oh, it's really good because it pays well. I was trying to think of a way to say it that seemed very politically correct, but it pays well. It can be very rewarding. Now, selling real estate is rewarding too. But real estate is like heads and shoulders for most agents. It's like you got your highs and your lows, highs, lows, highs, lows. And, what are you doing when it's the lows? Is there anything there to kind of supplement? And yes, this is not passive income. You got to trade your time for money. But still, if it's still in your wheelhouse of expertise and knowledge, why not? Why not? But anyhow, so I said, okay, cool. Well, then what school should I go to? Because at this point, I'm like, well, since you suggested it, then I got more questions for you. So I found out, what school to look into, and I went to the school and I was like, whoa, it's a commitment. Like, it's not inexpensive. You want to become an appraiser, you're going to pay some money. Okay? But it's all good because the bigger goal, you're going to make way more money than that. So it's like a small investment to something that's really going to be huge for you in your business. And so anyhow, so we did that, took the classes, and then I was like, man, I didn't realize that there were so many classes I had to take and they were going to be so challenging. There were some times when I was like, I don't even know. But I remembered my why. why I needed to do this, why I wanted to do this. I had to stick with it. I could not stop. And so I didn't. I kept going and I kept going and I kept taking those classes. And even though they were challenging and I was up late nights trying to do that, I just told people like, hey, I'm studying to get my appraisal license. So, so they understood like, I'm not just doing this one thing right now. I'm doing other things. And so I had to be able to put my time and my energy towards my studies, because with appraisals, if I'm comparing getting my real estate license to getting my appraisal license, I would say getting my real estate license. Getting your real estate license is not easy. Okay. It's not a walk in the park, but man, getting that appraisal license is way more challenging. And you can't play with it. Like, you got to know this stuff. Like, they're not playing with you, because the reality is the industry is depending on you to be an expert, to be honest, to operate with integrity. The industry is depending on that, the financial industry. So if you're out here and you're not appraising things properly, you don't know what you're doing, then you're doing a disservice to everyone, to the economy. And so, years ago, they had a savings and loan bailout. It was a whole issue with appraisers out here, just all wonky with it. So they had to stop that. Like, they had to get a handle on that. And so the course is, nothing about it is easy. Nothing. But you've done other things that were challenging, so you can do this. And so anyhow, so you take the course, you take your class course, you pass it, just like you would do a real estate license. And then you take the state exam. Okay, so once you do that, then you have to take another class and then take the state exam. So you're taking all these different tests and things like that, and you're like, oof, when will it end? But it will end. You will get to the finish line, but you have to have that stick-to-itiveness. If you're someone who starts something and you don't never finish it, just don't do this, because this is going to be extremely challenging and you're going to want to stop. But if you don't remember like why you're doing it, if you're just doing it because, I don't know, you have to be doing this. You have to decide, I want to be an appraiser because you want to add income to your family. You want to help to have representation in the industry. Like, it has to be some strong reasons why you want to do this. You can't just be like, oh, I think I just want to do something today. No, because when it gets challenging, you're going to walk away from it and be like, forget this. So you want to make sure your why is in place. Like, why am I doing this and stuff? And that way you can take these tests, these classes, and you'll be done with it in no time. But after you get it, it's such an amazing feeling to have. When people ask me, hey, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I'm a real estate appraiser. They're like, oh. Because I think that, I know for me, because I have not personally met many real estate appraisers, and I haven't met not one female appraiser up until recently. And so now I've met a total of 2. Now I know there's more, but I met a total of 2. So it's just not a lot of representation out there. And so I feel like so glad that I can represent women and women of color, right? I believe that the industry needs to be more diverse. And I believe that we'll hear less stories of people feeling like they need to whitewash their homes. And that won't be a conversation to be had as much, because we'll see representation. It'll be a more diverse, but it has to start with, one person at a time. And people seeing that, ooh, that lady named Shonnie, she's an appraiser. Why can't I be one? And then after you do your research and see what it's going to require of you, then you go for it, or you pass down the idea to someone else who you feel like would be very fitting for this career choice. But I really enjoy it. I love it. I'm so grateful and proud to be an appraiser, like one of less than 5,000 here in Georgia. Like, we don't even have a whole lot of appraisers here. We have a whole lot of real estate licensees and brokers, around 100,000, honestly, give or take, on any given year. But then with appraisers, we haven't had more than 5,000 in forever in Georgia. So I'm just proud to be one of the numbers, and I'm proud to be a trailblazer for the industry, and just someone to be a reflection of what, if you see me doing it, then you'll want to do it as well. You'll want to try and go for it. So ladies, look into it in your respective states, because every state has different criteria that you have to meet. So you go to your real estate commission website and they'll have information about becoming a real estate agent or real estate licensee, shall I say. And they'll have information about becoming an appraiser. So you're gonna go look at that appraiser stuff. And then if you could get in contact with maybe an actual appraiser and just ask them like, hey, do you have any suggestions on schools that I should attend to get my appraisal license? And they may say yes. And you look into that and you start trying to develop a relationship with that appraiser. I would also say if you are having a hard time finding an appraiser that could be a mentor for you, to look into your real estate trade association. So look into realtors. Realtors have professionals as members of the organization. There's an organization called the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, NAREB, we call it for short. They have local chapters, just as Realtors has local chapters and state chapters. Plug into them, to your local chapter within your respective cities and states, and see if they have real estate appraisers that you could have a conversation with, that you can meet up and have coffee or tea with. Okay, so because you're going to need a mentor to be a certified or a licensed appraiser in your respective state. You can be a registered appraiser, but at some point you're going to want to be licensed and certified. And in order to get there, you have to do some trainee hours, which is another course you got to take as well. Yes, so I hope this was very helpful to you all, women and men. But you know, women, I love you because I just love to help, you know, another sister. I just love to see women win. Okay, so yeah, so you can get in contact with me. My information is right here. You can get in contact with me. We can discuss things a little bit further. If you have any other questions I can answer, or you can put some questions down in the comments and I'll respond to the comments too. All right, okay, take care.